Have you ever wondered about the environmental impact of the traditional burial methods we have been using for centuries? It's a question that might strike you as odd, but when you start to dig into it, no pun intended, the implications are quite startling. Let's start with the most common method, burial in a cemetery. Picture this. A body is embalmed with chemicals, placed in a non-biodegradable casket, and then laid to rest in a concrete vault within the earth. It's a process steeped in tradition. But have you ever thought about the toll it takes on our planet? The caskets we use, often made from metal or hardwoods, do not break down over time. Their production contributes to deforestation and mining, both of which have significant environmental impacts. Then there's the issue of space. Cemeteries take up large areas of land that could be used for other purposes, such as agriculture or housing. Next, consider the chemicals used in embalming. Formaldehyde, a common embalming fluid, is a known carcinogen and can leach into the soil, potentially contaminating water sources. And then there's cremation. While it may seem like a more environmentally friendly option, it's not without its flaws. Cremation requires a substantial amount of energy and releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. To put it into perspective, a single cremation is equivalent to a 500-mile car journey in terms of carbon emissions. So these traditional methods of burial, while deeply ingrained in our culture, are not without their environmental costs. They use up valuable resources, contribute to pollution, and occupy land that could be put to better use. So, the question emerges, is there a more sustainable way to say our final goodbyes? Enter human composting, a method that transforms our physical selves into nutrient-rich soil. Now, this might sound a tad bit unconventional to some, but let's unravel this concept together. Human composting, otherwise known as natural organic reduction or recomposition, is an eco-friendly alternative to traditional burial or cremation methods that have been in place for centuries. You see, human composting is all about returning to the earth in the most natural way possible, by allowing our bodies, once we've shuffled off this mortal coil, to decompose and nourish the soil. This is achieved by placing the deceased in a vessel filled with organic materials. Think wood chips, straw, and other plant matter. Over a period of weeks, the marvel of natural decomposition takes over, breaking down the body and turning it into nutrient-rich soil. But what makes human composting a sustainable choice? Well, it sidesteps the use of embalming fluids and non-biodegradable caskets that come with traditional burials. It also avoids the carbon dioxide and other pollutants released into the atmosphere during cremation. In essence, human composting is an opportunity to give back to the earth, even in death. As of my last update in January 2022, human composting was beginning to gain legal recognition in some parts of the world, with businesses springing up to provide this service. Of course, regulations and acceptance can vary depending on the location, and it's quite possible that there have been further developments in the acceptance and implementation of human composting since then. Now, you may be wondering, how exactly does this process work? The process of human composting is quite fascinating and a beautiful testament to the cycle of life. So, how does it work? Well, let's dive into the step-by-step process. It all begins when a person passes away. Their body, instead of being embalmed or cremated, is prepared for natural organic reduction, or to put it simply, composting. Firstly, the body is placed into a specially designed vessel. This isn't your typical backyard compost bin. It's a carefully engineered environment that facilitates the natural decomposition process. Now, the body isn't alone in this vessel. It's surrounded by a carefully chosen mix of organic materials, like wood chips, straw, and other plant matter. These materials play a vital role in kickstarting the decomposition process, providing the necessary carbon to balance the nitrogen in the human body. Once the vessel is sealed, nature takes the wheel. Over the course of several weeks, microorganisms work their magic, breaking down the body's organic material. This process is aided by regular turning of the contents, ensuring that everything decomposes evenly. It's much like turning a compost pile in your garden, but on a much grander scale. As the weeks pass, the body, along with the organic materials, gradually transforms into a nutrient-rich soil. It's a humbling transformation, as what was once a human body returns to the earth in a new life-giving form. After the composting process is complete, the soil is left to cure for a few more weeks. This resting period ensures that the compost is stable and safe to use. Finally, the resulting soil is ready for its next journey. It can be used to nourish gardens, plant trees, or any other purpose that honors the memory of the deceased. That's it, from human to soil, completing the circle of life in a truly green way. So, what are the benefits of choosing human composting? Well, let's start with the environmental benefits. Human composting leaves a significantly smaller carbon footprint compared to traditional burial or cremation. The decomposition process doesn't rely on fossil fuels, and it doesn't release harmful emissions into the atmosphere. Instead, it harnesses nature's own recycling system using heat, microbes, and time to transform our physical selves back into the basic building blocks of life. In contrast, traditional burials often involve the use of embalming fluids, which can contaminate the soil and groundwater. Cremation, on the other hand, requires a lot of energy and releases carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. But with human composting, these environmental issues are bypassed. Another advantage of human composting is that it results in nutrient-rich soil. This soil can be returned to the family of the deceased, who can then use it in a myriad of ways. They can grow a garden, plant a tree, or even create a living memorial in honor of their loved one. It's a tangible, life-affirming way of remembering the deceased, and it allows their legacy to live on in a very real and organic manner. Furthermore, human composting can help us foster a healthier relationship with death. It allows us to see death not as an end, but as a natural part of the life cycle. By returning our bodies to the earth, we can nurture new life and continue the circle of life in a meaningful and sustainable way. In a world grappling with environmental challenges, human composting offers a way to honor our loved ones while respecting Mother Earth. We've covered a lot of ground today, so let's recap. We spoke about the environmental impact of traditional burial methods, highlighting the use of embalming fluids and non-biodegradable caskets, and the carbon footprint of cremation. We then delved into the concept of human composting, or natural organic reduction, a practice that transforms human remains into nutrient-rich soil through the process of decomposition. We walked you through this process, from placing the body in a vessel filled with organic materials like wood chips and straw, to the weeks-long decomposition process that eventually yields fertile soil. This soil can be used for various purposes, from gardening to tree planting, creating a cycle of life even after death. We also reflected on the benefits of human composting, from its minimal environmental impact to its potential for creating a tangible, living legacy. It's a new perspective on death, one that challenges our conventional practices and embraces a more sustainable and natural process. As we continue to seek sustainable solutions in every aspect of our lives, perhaps it's time to consider our final act on this planet. After all, what could be more natural than returning to the soil from which we all emerged?